The 8-year civil war following the US coup, which saw NATO powers arm Kiev and Ukrainian fascists in order to carry out attacks on the Russian-speaking population in the east of Ukraine, has caused this war. And having caused this war, you're not allowed to say that in the media, that's banned. They've caused this war, and instead of pushing for negotiations and a political solution, which is what is urgently needed to achieve a lasting peace, the United States, Britain and Europe are escalating this proxy war. They are pouring billions of dollars, euros and pounds worth of weapons into Ukraine to prolong the war. And the explicit goal of US foreign policy makers is to use this proxy war to weaken Russia. So, in other words, the Ukrainian people are just cannon fodder to advance the geopolitical goals of the United States. So why does the US want to weaken Russia? So it has to be said that the United States does not want any country in the world to pursue an independent foreign policy. I don't need to go through the countless coups, wars, proxy wars and so on that the United States has launched to achieve regime change all across the world and to install US puppets that will subordinate their countries to Washington. But this, of course, also applies to Russia. But it's not just about that. This is about the US Cold War against China too. The Biden administration believes that if it succeeds in weakening Russia, a country that is very large and has serious military power, this will strengthen the US's ability to attack China in the future. So what we have at the moment is not only this escalating proxy war against Russia, but we've also got the Cold War against China, which is really heating up. I imagine most of you haven't been able to avoid this in recent weeks, but the Western media has been focused on hyping up the alleged threat posed by a solitary Chinese balloon that was blown off course into US airspace. There's been a furore about this over the balloon. It sparked a diplomatic crisis, and incredibly, the United States has deployed advanced, very expensive weapons to deal with this balloon. So I'm really sorry to say it, but this balloon crisis is quite simply hot air. Yay. Sorry, the jokes won't get better. They won't get better. But in all seriousness, this is a manufactured by the United States to whip up hostility to China within the United States and create an atmosphere of tension in the world. And Britain, of course, is joining in with this farce. We had our very own Prime Minister declaring it will do whatever it takes to keep the country safe from balloons so we can all sleep soundly. We've really got to understand that the US and its allies are attempting to prepare public opinion in the West for a possible hot war with China. I mean, how devastating would that be for humanity? And Washington, I mean, this is the news, balloons, 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 but what Washington's been doing in recent weeks is working with key allies in the Pacific region to escalate the military encirclement of China in preparation for a potential hot war in Asia. So instead of embarking on a policy of international cooperation to solve massive problems like climate change, the entire US political establishment is uniting around a very aggressive policy aimed at stopping the rise of China. So I just want to take a moment, the extraordinary economic, social, technological rise of China, bringing over 800 million people out of poverty in 40 years. I mean, the Western media say, but at what cost? But at what cost have you brought hundreds of millions of people out of poverty? Anything that China does, there's a negative spin on it. This rise of China, this peaceful rise of China, is regarded by elites in Washington as an existential threat to their global hegemony, and they are prepared to do whatever it takes to stop China, and they are contemplating methods which could endanger every single person on this planet. Because the United States is losing economic competition to China, but where the United States is strong is on the military terrain, and that's where it wants to push its confrontation with China. So, just on the facts of this, the United States spends more on the military than the next 9 countries combined, has over 800 military bases across the world.